Today on Rappler, classified documents obtained by Rappler show 2 Jamaah Islamiyah leaders are in MILF territory. Chief Negotiator Marvic Leonen says the MILF and the Philippine government are now at the door of an agreement. And former President Gloria Arroyo asks the Sandigan Bayan to stop hearing the plunder case against her. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Classified documents and maps obtained by Rappler show the terrorist targets of the first smart bomb attack in the Philippines are still alive. Malaysian Zulkifli bin Hir, better known as Marwan, who carries a $5 million reward on his head, and Singaporean Mohammed Abdullah Ali, known as Mawiya, found sanctuary in central Mindanao in territory controlled by the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, or MILF. This poses a new challenge to the peace process between the government and the MILF. Both sides resumed talks in Kuala Lumpur on Tuesday. Civilian and military intelligence sources from the Philippines, Malaysia, and the United States confirmed to Rappler the two escaped the joint Philippine-US smart bomb operation on February 2, 2012, which killed their longtime host, Abu Sayyaf leader Umrah Jumdail Gumbahali, better known as Doc Abu. Marwan and Mawiya are now in Butig, Lanao del Sur, near the MILF's Camp Bushra, seen clearly in satellite maps obtained by Rappler. Despite this, the Philippine military continues to insist that the two were killed in the February attack. MILF Peace Panel Chairman Mohaghir Iqbal tells Rappler, quote, "The MILF also received that report, adding ADJAG is validating this on the ground. ADJAG is the ad hoc joint action group set up by both parties to deal with potential flashpoints that blur the lines between crime and terrorism." According to classified Philippine intelligence reports, Marwan and Mawiya were sheltered in Sulu for nearly 2 weeks by an Abu Sayyaf member belonging to Radulan Sahiron's group.
So I think it's a reality that many of those that are lawless do have relatives within communities where the MILF may be influential or dominant. Therefore, that it may be natural that in some of these instances, they would come home or seek succor under their protection.
Government Chief Negotiator Marvic Leonen urges the Moro Islamic Liberation Front to persevere in its peace talks with the national government. During the 29th formal exploratory talks in Malaysia, Leonen says both parties are now at the, quote, door of an agreement. He says the administration is prepared to fully invest in a harmonious working relationship between the national government and the new autonomous political entity to enable an autonomy that is truly viable and workable. The chief negotiator cites the Bangsamoro Leaders Assembly as a framework for future cooperation. Earlier this month, government peace negotiators were invited to speak and interact with communities supportive of MILF ideals in an assembly in Camp Darapanan. The assembly was the biggest public consultation of the Islamic armed group. MILF panel chair Mohaghir Iqbal said, "The momentum for a peace settlement is at hand." The Commission on Elections says about 50,000 minors in the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or ARMM, have filled up voter registration forms even if minors are not allowed to vote. The poll body cites 2 reasons for this: to avoid confrontation in the registration centers and prevent further delay. The poll body clarifies that these minors are, quote, applicants for registration and may be disapproved. COMELEC Chairman Sixto Brillantes Jr. says there are, quote, adequate safeguards to prevent underage voters from showing up on the final list of voters. Former President Gloria Arroyo asks the Sandigan Bayan to stop hearing the plunder case filed against her and suspend the issuance of an arrest warrant. Arroyo says due process requires proceedings to be suspended to allow her to file a motion for reconsideration. On Monday, the Ombudsman filed a plunder case against her and 9 other former government officials. They are accused of unlawful transfer of 365 million pesos in confidential intelligence funds from the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office. The case will be raffled off to the Graft Court's 5 divisions on Friday, July 20th. Arroyo also faces a separate graft case for the botched NBN-ZTE contract with a Chinese company. Foreign Secretary Albert Del Rosario calls a Chinese warship's presence in Philippine territory an accident. But DFA Undersecretary for Policy Erlinda Basilio sees it as a threat or use of force. The Jianghu-class frigate was stuck Wednesday and rescued Sunday from Half Moon Shoal off the coast of Palawan. The shoal is within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. Basilio says international law upholds the right of international ships to pass through another country's waters, but she says it's a different matter if the vessel is a warship. The DFA bases its statements on the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. It allows foreign ships to pass through a country's exclusive economic zone as long as they don't pose an economic or security threat. The Philippines says it will not lodge a diplomatic protest, but it warns a large Chinese fishing fleet in the Spratlys to stay away from Philippine territory. Foreign Department spokesman Raul Hernandez says the Philippine Coast Guard will check the vessel's location in the South China Sea. He says the Philippines may file a protest if the ships enter the country's exclusive economic zone. United States Pacific Command Chief Admiral Samuel Locklear is on a 3-day visit to the Philippines to boost ties between the armed forces of both countries. Admiral Locklear flies to Zamboanga Tuesday to meet U.S. troops from the joint US-Philippine task force stationed in Mindanao. Presidential spokesman Edwin Lacerda says Locklear reaffirmed U.S. support for achieving a minimum credible defense position. Tensions are high between Manila and Beijing over the South China Sea, but Lacerda says it was not discussed during the visit. Saudi Arabia's hiring ban on Filipino domestic workers spurs a growing trend of maids for rent. After the Philippines revised its hiring guidelines to curb abuse of Filipino domestic workers, Saudi Arabia stopped issuing work permits. The ban has created a high demand for transient maids. Migrante Middle East Regional Coordinator John Monterona says transient workers are prone to abuse since there's no formal contract, no formal employment contract. He says most maids for rent are hired by brokers who take commissions from the workers' wages. In return, the brokers will not report the illegal workers to authorities. Migrante urges the Labor Department and the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration to investigate the case. Well, let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 3, total cash remittances sent home by overseas Filipinos increased 5.3% to $8.3 billion in January to May, reflecting resilience in the middle of economic challenges faced by some host countries. Remittances from overseas workers are the top dollar earner for the Philippines. At number 4, economic relations between the Philippines and China seem vibrant enough despite controversial projects ZTE and North Rail and sea disputes at the South China Sea. Philippine President Benigno Aquino III leads the inauguration of the 6.1 billion peso Angat Aqueduct Improvement Project and thanks China for extending a $116 million loan to finance it. At number 7, reclusive state North Korea names a new vice marshal of the army a day after the army chief was relieved from all his posts. Yoon Yong-chol takes over Ri Yong-ho, one of the key figures who supported new leader Kim Jong-un in the transition following the death in December of his father Kim Jong-il. Analysts say they're skeptical about Ri's reason for departure, his health, and say the move shows Jong-un tightening his control over the powerful military. And at number 9, of the highest earning American athletes listed in Sports Illustrated's annual Fortune 50, 9 make more from endorsing products than actually playing their sports. For example, Tiger Woods is considered 96% spokesman, 4% athlete, for earning an estimated $1.94 million as a golf player and $54.5 million as a product endorser. The other 8 players joining Woods are race car drivers Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, and Tony Stewart, golfer Phil Mickelson, and NBA stars LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Well, struggling internet pioneer Yahoo on Monday names key Google executive Marissa Mayer as its new chief executive. Mayer is one of Google's first employees and headed products such as Google Maps, Google Earth, and local search for desktop and mobile. The 37-year-old is now arguably the most prominent woman in Silicon Valley and a rare female CEO at one of America's largest firms. The move comes as a surprise after many reports say interim CEO Ross Levinson had a lock on the top job. Meyer tells the New York Times she opted to go to Yahoo because it is one of the best brands on the internet. The U.S. Senate accuses global bank HSBC of opening the U.S. financial system to terrorists, drug dealers, and money launderers. Senators say the London-based lender allowed affiliates in other countries to move billions of dollars in suspect funds into the U.S. without adequate controls. U.S. Senator Carl Levin says stopping illicit money flows that support those atrocities is a national security imperative. HSBC will attend a Senate hearing. In a statement, HSBC admits it has sometimes failed to meet the standards that regulators and customers expect. On today's Mood Meter, if you notice, every story on Rappler has a mood meter which presents 8 moods. Please click on the mood that article made you feel, and all of those moods are aggregated on the back end and placed in Rappler's Mood Navigator. As we saw last week, the death of Dolphy made the Mood Navigator sad, but starting Sunday, it turned green, and more circles, more stories have now made it green. Today, most people are happy. Well, that's Rappler's Newscast for today, Tuesday, July 17, 2012. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our Mood Meter. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.